أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. المال البنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا. ويوم نسير الجبال وترى الأرض باسطة وحشرناهم فلم نغادر منهم أحدا وأعرضوا على ربك صفا لقد جئتمونا كما خلقناكم أول مرة بل زعمتم أن لن نجعل لكم موعدا. ووضع الكتاب فترى المجرمين مشفقين مما فيه ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس كان من الجن ففسق عن أمر ربه أفتتخذونه وذريته أولياء من دوني وهم لكم عدو بئس للظالمين بدلا ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض ولا خلق أنفسهم وما كنتم متخذ المضلين عضدا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Hassan Badri for recitation of Ziyat Ashura with Allah Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلى على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت. ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمر، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك. فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم والبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاركم مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشان الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعنة منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجدة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين، لك على مصابهم، الحمد لله على عظيم رزيته. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Jazakallah, Brother Hassan Badri. One more allow salawat for him, please. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani for recitation of poetry with allow salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. ما صل على محمد وآل محمد. بنو کہاں تلاش کرے اپنے لال کو، جنگل میں مار ڈالا ہے زہرا کی آل کو، بانو کہاں تلاش، زینب کے ساتھ روتی ہے سب مل کے بیبیاں، زینب کے ساتھ روتی ہے سب مل کے بیبیاں، جب دیکھتی تھی روز وہ وقت زوال کو، شبیر دل کو تھام کے غش کھا کے گر پڑے، دیکھا جو خون میں غرق نبی کے جمال کو، شبیر لا رہے ہیں میدان سے دیکھیے، شبیر لا رہے ہیں میدان سے دیکھیے، اپنے ضعیف کاندھوں پہ 18 سال کو شبیر میرے پاس گئے صدقے کو بس یہی گئے شبیر میرے پاس گئے صدقے کو بس یہی جھولے سے لا کے دے دیا بہنوں نے لال کو جھولے سے لا کے دے دیا مہدیر لال کو ایسا تو ظلم جارے کسی پہ ہوا نہیں برباد جس طرح کیا زہرا کیا لکھو شبیر اپنے روز پہ بلوائیں گے ضرور توقیر تو نکال دے دل سے ملال کو بانو کہاں تلاش بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani. One more loud salawat for him, please. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Salman Hassan for recitation of poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بآواز بلند صلوات حیرت میں ہوں کیوں جہاں میں حیرت میں ہوں کیوں جہاں میں دریا میں ہے کس لیے سمایا پانی دریا میں ہے کس لیے سمایا پانی اب لاکھ برس ابر برسے تو کیا اب لاکھ برس ابر برسے تو کیا شبیر نے مرتے دم نہ پایا پانی حیرت میں ہوں کیوں جہاں میں بابا سے بلند سلام اور ایک بابا سے بلند سلام اے رات نہ ڈھلنا کہ اجڑ جائیں گی زینب اے رات نہ ڈھلنا کہ اجڑ جائیں گی زینب بھائی سے دم صبح ہو بچھڑ جائیں گی زینب بھائی سے دم صبح ہو بچھڑ جائیں گی زینب اے رات نہ ڈھلنا سونے دے سکینہ کو کہ پھر سو نہ سکے گی سونے دے سکینہ کو کہ پھر سو نہ سکے گی رونا بھی جو چاہے تو پھر وہ رو نہ سکے گی اصغر سے ملاقات تو پھر ہو نہ سکے گی اے رات نہ ڈھلنا گھبرائے ہوئے لال ہیں سہمی ہوئی مائیں گھبرائے ہوئے لال ہیں سہمی ہوئی مائیں جی بھر کے میں دے لوں علی اکبر کو دعائیں لینا ہے ابھی اونو محمد کی بلائیں. اے رات نہ ڈھلنا اے رات گھڑی بھر کو تو رہنے دے سکون میں. گھر جائیں گے ناصر میرے آدا کی صفوں میں. یہ چاند سے چہرے تو نہا جائیں گے خون میں. اے رات نہ ڈھلنا ہر چند کے بچوں کی ابھی پیاس ہے باقی. ہر چند کے بچوں کی ابھی پیاس ہے باقی. کچھ آنکھ میں حسرت ہے تو کچھ آس ہے باقی. لیکن میرا بھائی میرا عباس ہے باقی. اے رات نہ ڈھلنا کہ اجڑ جائیں گی زینب. کل کون سنے گا کل کون سنے گا یہ میری آہ و فغاں بھی. کل کون سنے گا میری یہ آہ و فغاں بھی. ہوگا تہ خنجر میرے بھائی کا گلا بھی. خیمہ تو کجا سر پہ نہ ہوگی یہ ردا بھی. اے رات نہ ڈھلنا کہ اجڑ جائیں گی زینب. بھائی سے دم صبح ہو بچھڑ جائیں گی زینب. بابا سے بلند صلوات.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Salman Hassan. May Allah remove His mercy from the killers of Hazrat Asghar and Bibi Sakina alayhi salam. One more last salawat for him. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Salman Hussain for recitation of poetry with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. ماں کے دلارے علی اصغر آنکھوں کے تارے علی اصغر، آگ لگی ہے خیموں میں، ہے آگ لگی ہے خیموں میں، اے میرے پیارے علی اصغر۔ ماں کہتی تھی جلتے ہوئے جھولے سے لپٹ کر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ ارے ظالم نے تجھے خبر سے اس طرح نکالا، سینے پہ لگا جس گھڑی بیٹا تیرے نیزہ، لاش کو تیرے دیکھ کے بولا سر اکبر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ ارے قاتل تیرا مل جائے تو خود پوچھ لوں اس سے، ارے کیا جرم تھا 6 ماہ کے، کیا جرم تھا 6 ماہ کے بچے کا بتا دے، ارے اس نے تو بلایا نہیں ماں بھی مجھے کہہ کر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ ارے اب تک میری آنکھوں سے وہ منظر نہیں جاتا، گردن سے تیری خون ٹپکتا رہا بیٹا، رومال بھی باندھا نہ گیا تیرے گلے پر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ اور جس تیر سے ناخے کو گراتے ہیں زمین پر، ہائے وہ تیر لگا ننے سے حلقوم پہ آ کر، تم خون اگلتے رہے بابا سے لپٹ کر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ اور سر اس لیے نیزے سے گرا دیتے ہو اپنا، گودی میں میری آنا ہے شاید تمہیں بیٹا، لیکن ہے بندے ہاتھ اٹھا سکتی نہیں سر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ ماں کہتی تھی جلتے ہوئے جھولے سے لپٹ کر، ہائے ہائے علی اصغر۔ اور محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
Jazakallah khair, Brother Salman, for that wonderful recitation. One more loud salawat for him, please. Respected Sheikh, elders, brothers, and sisters of faith, Assalamu alaikum. Our condolences to the Imam of our time as we gather here in preparation for the night of Ashur, to all mu'minin mu'minat. Before the Sheikh begins his speech, just a few reminders. Tomorrow is the day of Ashur. Inshallah, we will have Salat al-Jummah led by Sheikh Amin, followed by the Amal of the day of Ashura. The Asr Ashur program is scheduled to begin after the conclusion of Amal around 3:25 p.m. with the recitation of Holy Quran, and will end with the Faqa Shikni, with Niyaz being served here at CFK. The program for Sham-e Ghariba is scheduled to begin with Salat al-Maghriban. Details are present on our WhatsApp group and newsletter emails. Just a reminder that Al-Ain Foundation has a stall set up on the sister side. Please support their cause and visit their stall for more information, as well as the Zahra Trust, whom you heard from a few nights ago. Jazakallah khair to all those who have donated in these holy nights to the City of Knowledge. Alhamdulillah, we have reached 70% of our goal that we have set out to raise. Please note we don't do any fundraising between programs, but it is requested to all those who can, please help as much as you can for us to reach our goal. Sponsorship slots are also available during these holy nights and updated every day at cfkdfw.org. As we approach Ashura, we expect to welcome more and more mu'mineen for Farsh Aza. Brothers and sisters are requested once again to please move forward and fill in any empty spaces amongst us. As you know, tonight is going to be a very, very busy night, and there will be many people coming in later on throughout the evening. We also request that attendees work with our parking volunteers to get the most use out of our limited spots. We would also like to remind our mothers with young children to utilize the dedicated mother's room for their ease and to minimize disturbances in the main hall during the program. Before I request the Sheikh to ascend the member to begin his speech for tonight, I would request us to recite a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's program sponsors. Let us also include our marhumin and mu'minat, and please also remember those all around the world for the Surah Fatiha. At this time, I would like to request the Sheikh to please ascend the member to begin his speech for tonight, and request the brothers and sisters to move as close to the member as possible, as many people will be coming in later throughout the night with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. On this last night before Ashura, that last inspiration that we want to take, inshallah, from the day of Ashura, I felt would be good to be that of death itself, and that everything is going to end, brothers and sisters. And so what I want to do is first go through some of the words of the Imam. Throughout this journey, especially towards the end of his journey, he keeps bringing up death again and again and again. And a true Shia, I would say, a true Muslim, is a person who follows the footsteps of the Holy Prophet, where he said that for me, this dunya, this life is, like a person who's traveling and wants to take a break, And so they stop under the shade for a little bit and then they get going again. That's what this life is like. It's like taking a little short break, standing under the shade a little bit, and then getting on with your journey. The Imam, he mentions death a lot. I don't know if I'll be able to go through everything. But then after that, I want to go through some of our literature regarding the importance of the remembrance of death, the benefits of remembering death, and maybe wrap up with one of the sayings of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the Holy Imam, in different places, as I said, he mentions death. For example, in one of his servants, he says, "Praise be to Allah. MashaAllah, by Allah's will only. There is no power but with Allah, and blessings of Allah upon His Messenger. Verily, death is bound with the sons of Adam, the children of Adam, as a necklace around the neck of a maiden." So he says, just like how usually you'll find maidens and girls wearing a necklace, and that necklace will go with them wherever they go. He says death is like that necklace that is around a person's neck, that follows them everywhere they go. How I desire and long to meet my ancestors, the same way Prophet Yaqub longed to be reunited with Prophet Yusuf. Verily I proceed towards the place of my martyrdom, which has been selected for me. It is as if I see the wolves of the desert tearing apart each part of my body between Nawawis and Karbala. Nawawis is a graveyard, they say, a Christian graveyard that was around that area. He says, I see that this is going to be happening to me. And filling their empty bellies with me, there is no escape from that which has been written by the pen of Allah, by the pen of destiny. And the pleasure of our household, the Ahlul Bayt, lies in the pleasure of Allah. In other words, look, this is where the pleasure of Allah lies. This is where our pleasure and satisfaction is going to be. And I've said this again and again in different lectures and talks here and there that, look, brothers and sisters, wherever you have the satisfaction of Allah, everything is there, barakah is there. Wherever there is no satisfaction of Allah, there is no barakah. Whether you're even if you're in the Kaaba. Abdullah bin Zubayr stayed in the Kaaba. He took the Kaaba as his shield. Eventually, he suffered from the same fate as the rest who didn't give bay'ah to Yazid. And he was killed. Does anyone remember him? Does anyone remember his death? Does anyone commemorate him? No one really cares too much. But everyone speaks about Imam Hussein. Why? Did he die in Mecca? No. Where did he die? Somewhere totally irrelevant to anything. The desert. Imam Ali in Nahj al-Balaghat speaks of the same notion. He says the Kaaba is placed in the worst of places. In the desert over there, nothing is going on there. No vegetation, nothing. But now everyone longs to go to Mecca for Umrah and Hajj. It's the number one destination of the Muslims of the world. Why? Because Allah's satisfaction is there when Hajj and Umrah take place. And so barakah is there. So barakah comes wherever satisfaction of Allah is. Imam Hussein chose Allah's satisfaction, and so he ended up in Karbala. And that's why all the barakah is there now. And so he says, the pleasure of our household lies in the pleasure of Allah. Whatever He wants. He wants me to end up there, I'll go there. Did Imam Hussein have to? Was he forced to go? No. But he knows that Allah wants this, and so he goes. He knows that Allah has decreed this, and there's no choice. The only way Islam is preserved is through this means, and so he goes. In another sermon somewhere else, it says the Imam stood amongst his companions and delivered a sermon. He says, as you can see, what has befallen us has befallen us. Times have changed, evil has taken over, and good and merit have ceased, and only a little is left, like the drops of water that remain at the bottom of a container. Have you noticed when you empty a cup of water, if you really want to make it dry, after that you shake it a little bit so that those little droplets that are still left and stuck to the container, they also fall out. He says that's how much truth is left in my time, Imam Hussein. That little bit of water that sticks to the walls of the cup, says that's how much is left. The people are living in low and abased circumstances, like a grazing ground that has become hard and barely bears any vegetation. Do you not see that the truth is not adhered to and that falsehood is not refrained from? In such circumstances, it is befitting for the believer to be eager to meet his Lord in these circumstances. And so even today, we look around and we see the circumstances, yeah? I don't know, this world is nice, there's a lot of good stuff in it, but it's not a permanent abode, it seems. There's too much negativity here. There's too many problems, everything is of a temporal nature, unfortunately. Unfortunate for me, the dunya lets me know how temporary it is, yet I impose permanence on it. So the problem is me. The problem isn't the dunya. In Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Ali says this. The problem is not the dunya, he says. The problem is us. Dunya showed itself to us, its true colors. Every day someone's passing away. Every day people who had something lose something. Those who were nobodies become somebodies. The somebodies become nobodies. I mean, this is what it is. In such circumstances, it is befitting for the believer to be eager to meet his Lord in such abased and filthy circumstances. Death to me is salvation itself. So the Imam is looking forward to death. And life with the oppressors is only hardship and weariness. With Ali al-Akbar, it says that the Imam, in one of these stations, he was saying, on the way to Kufa or Karbala, he was saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un repeatedly. And so Ali al-Akbar asked his father, why are you doing istirja' so much? This is called istirja'. When you say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that's called istirja'. Why are you doing istirja' so much, oh father? He says, I saw a dream, I napped and nodded off for a minute, and I could see that there is a caller calling out, al-qawmu yasri wal-manaya tasri ilayhim. That there's this caravan is moving on, and what's happening with this caravan is that death is alongside it. And so I know that this will end with shahada. This trip and journey is going to end with shahada. And so Ali al-Akbar says those famous lines. He says that, alasna ala al-haq, aren't we on the true path though? The Imam says, yes, of course. He said, إِذَنْ لَا نُبَالِي بِالْمَوْتِ. Then we don't care about death. This is beautiful. This is the perspective a Muslim, a Shia needs to, inshallah, develop. Now, I don't expect my 15-year-old to understand this. But a 45-year-old, inshallah, a 55-year-old, when I reach that age at least, I should look at it like this, that yes, death is a bridge. And inshallah, since I've done what I needed to do, if I'm on the true path, then إِذَنْ لَا نُبَالِي بِالْمَوْتِ. We don't care about death too much. We're not worried about it. And the only thing I'm supposed to worry about is my own actions. That's what determines if my death is a good one or a bad one. Or in another case, on the day of Ashura, the Imam, he says, death is but a bridge that will take you from hardship and tribulation to vast gardens and eternal blessings. Which of you is it that wouldn't like to be transferred from a prison to a palace? Yeah, let go of this life. Oh my companions, this is the day. قُومُوا أَيُّهَا الْكِرَامِ إِلَى الْمَوْتِ الَّذِي لَا بُدَّ مِنْهُ. This is beautiful too. O kiram, O noble ones, the Imam says to his companions on another occasion. Rise, قُومُوا. Towards what? إِلَى الْمَوْتِ. Towards death. So go and receive it, embrace it. The death that الَّذِي لَا بُدَّ مِنْهُ, there's no way out of it anyway. So you know it's coming anyway. But even though that's the case, you think you can evade it. No, embrace it and remember that there is no way out of it. So at least leave this dunya in the best of states. فَإِنَّ هَذِهِ السِّهَامْ رُسُلُ الْقَوْمِ. For these arrows that are now coming, these are the messages of that opposition and the enemy for you. They're not sending you love letters. They're not sending you flowers. They're sending you arrows. This is their message to you. And so he says that this death, the only thing that's between you and Jannah, oh noble ones, is death. So what are bridges built for, brothers and sisters? Bridges are built for the destination that we're supposed to get to. If death is a bridge, that means there's a destination that awaits us. Now, however important and significant the destination is, that significance rubs off on the bridge itself. Why do we build bridges? That's the only way to get to destination. And so, if the place that I'm going to, let's say I'm in some very, very bad, war-torn, third world country, let's say, and I want to make it to the West, let's say. And there's one flight that's going that is going to be taking people who can go. How important will that flight become all of a sudden? I have $1 million in the bank. They're saying that this flight's going to cost you $500,000. Well, it's okay because the $1 million that's in the West for me waiting, that importance rubs off on this flight now. The flight itself isn't that important. Do you want to live in the plane? No. But since that's the only way to get to what's important to me, it becomes the most important thing. Maut and death, well, it will carry the value of the akhirah I've built for myself. If I've built a good akhirah and it's important for me, this akhirah of mine, it rubs off on death. And death becomes that important for me. And if I have not built an akhirah, then the problem is that it's not, the akhirah I've built for myself is not something I'm looking forward to. So death is going to also be something I'm not looking forward to. Hussein alayhi salam teaches us that that death is very important for a person who's built their akhirah. Reminds us, it's common sense. So having said this and going through a little bit of what the Imam and his mentions of death are, I want to share with you some hadiths, inshallah, as much as I can today. As many hadiths as I can that speak of this the importance of this death. The good thing about Ashura is that it really helps a person detach. You know, after they raised the head of Imam Hussein on the spears, you're just like, I don't really care too much right now about dunya. Yeah, it's one of the etiquettes that on the day of Ashura we don't work. Now some people think it's haram, whatever. If it's disrespectful to Ashura, it's haram. Other than that, it's makruh to work. A believer doesn't need to be told not to work on such a day, unless they're forced to, of course. Why? Because you have this feeling in you that you don't care too much. Yeah? Now, after Ashura, a little bit passes and we go back to normal again, that's fine. Because the wound of Karbala isn't a fresh one, it's one of 1400 years ago. If we were back then, we probably couldn't eat or drink and we would probably die with that. As they say, some of the wives of Imam Hussein, that's what happened to them. They just couldn't live anymore. And they eventually died maybe a year or two after, some of them. Okay? So I lost the train of thought that I had. So, yes, I was saying that this Ashura helps us come to terms with this, helps us to have a temporary but total detachment, okay, for all of us. And so with that, I want to remind that I chose this night for this topic. So let's go through some of these hadiths here about the remembrance of death. It says that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was asked, who is the smartest of the believers? Ayyul mu'minina akyas. He said, do you want to know which one is the smartest? أكثرهم ذكرا للموت وأشدهم له استعدادا. The one that remembers death the most and works on preparing for death the most. That's the smartest one. For us, who's the smartest person out there? You know who the smartest person out there is for us? The one who, at a very young age, learns how the world works, knows what it's all about, goes and gets a good degree early. They might even skip some years of high school and do it through homeschooling to get to university quicker. Knock out some of those credits any way they can in the summers. This person learns about finance, learns about money and how to do taxes and etc. Blah, 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 blah. This person makes it in their 30s. Before you know it, the guy is 30 years old, he's already mortgaged a house, he has a car, he's got the cash flow, and now everyone's willing to get married to him, right? And so this person is set. Who's smart? This person or the one who's wasted their life till the age of 25 and then now wants to all of a sudden figure life out? This person is dumb. This person is not smart. Why? What is the criteria? What is the measuring stick to figure out who's smart? The one who prepares for their future more. Well, guess what? This future that we look at and we say, oh, this person is smart, they figured it out. This future is a future. 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, this is the future, but it ends. And so no one says don't plan for that. No one says don't be smart about that. But a person who plans for eternity is probably smart. And the Holy Prophet says the ones who prepare for eternity are the smartest. But you see, the thing is, because we have something closer to us happening in this life, we forget about the eternity that's to come after. And because of that, we need remembrance of death. And so the Prophet, he says, look, the smartest of my people are the ones who remember death most, and as a result, they're preparing for death the most. That's smart for you. And of course, these two that I mentioned are not mutually exclusive. To prepare for this life, your future here, your 40s and 50s and 60s onwards, and to prepare for the akhirah. These are not mutually exclusive. Let's not get that wrong. But what we can conclude from this is that a person is not smart if they're not thinking about death every now and then, and they're not preparing for death. Next hadith. Imam Ali salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. ما أنزل الموت حق منزلته من عد غدا من أجله or ما أنزل الموت حق منزلته من عد غدا من أجله, that a person has not given death its proper due and credit, and has misunderstood death, actually, the one who considers and counts tomorrow as part of his life or her life. If I can have a salawat so the sisters move forward, and we're filling up in the back pretty quick. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And meanwhile, the brothers also, please, if you can move forward as well. Another salawat, please. He says, if you count tomorrow as part of your life, like you're confident that there's a tomorrow for me, then you haven't understood death. And that's how dangerous death is. Before you know it, you're gone. Ya Allah, like. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, ما من أهل بيت شعر ولا وبر إلا وملك الموت يتصفحهم في كل يوم 5 مرات. There is not a family out there, he says, that except that the angel of death and comes and strokes their heads 5 times per day. Now, is that the times of salat? What time is it? Whatever. All in all, Malakul Maut is our neighbor. He's our buddy. We don't even know it. He's there every day, stroking our heads 5 times. Yeah? As if, hey, I'm waiting for you. One of these times when he strokes, with that stroke, will probably go our soul as well. And so here I am thinking that, yeah, I'm going to live forever. That's how beautiful Allah has done it, by the way. Allah has done it so beautifully. You know how? Allah didn't let us know when we're going to die. Everyone out there knows we're going to die. I don't see them spending billions of dollars on the cure for death. They do that for AIDS, cancer, COVID, things like that. But they don't do it for death. Why? Don't you think that we can reverse that? They know they can't reverse that one. That's one thing everyone agrees on. Okay? So, if this is something that everyone agrees on, everyone knows is happening, then why is it that we feel like it's never going to happen? Because we don't know when it's going to happen. Like Allah does it so beautifully. That's why we need these reminders. Because if we don't have these reminders, we actually will practically think that we're eternal. And the greats, they say, yes, we are eternal, but there's a bridge of death to that eternity. That's the part we kind of forget about. Prophet Isa was asked, who are the awliyaullah, those chosen ones of Allah? Tell us something about those. How can we know that someone is a chosen one of Allah? What is one of their characteristics, at least? It says, أَحَبُّوا ذِكْرَ الْمَوْتِ وَتَرَكُوا ذِكْرَ الْحَيَاةِ. One of the signs of those who are awliyaullah is that they love the remembrance of death, and it doesn't say they hate, but they leave and abandon and put aside remembrance of dunya. I mean, when you're in the dunya, when you're in this life, do you need to remember it? You're here. Why? You remember something that is absent, right? That's not there yet. So why talk about it so much and remember it so much when we're already here anyway, number one. Number two, and we know it's going to end. Yeah? And so let's talk about that which is going to come and is never going to end. That's for them. And so, brothers and sisters, if you ever see me or anybody else either speaking in a way or living in a way or having a certain lifestyle in a way that the first thing or one of the first things that comes to your mind and catches your attention about them is the flashiness of dunya, yeah? The glitter and glamour of dunya, yeah? This is not a culture of Ahlul Bayt. Just remember that, please. Let's be a little picky and selective. أَحَبُّوا ذِكْرَ الْمَوْتِ وَتَرَكُوا ذِكْرَ الْحَيَاةِ. All right, so these are some hadiths on the importance of the remembrance of death. But why? What does remembrance of death do for us? Well, it removes heedlessness, ghafla, forgetfulness. It removes all of that from us, as I said. Yeah, we were created for somewhere else. We forget. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, ذِكْرُ الْمَوْتِ يُمِيتُ الشَّهَوَاتِ فِي النَّفْسِ. This is why it's important. Remembrance of death, he says, takes the life of, destroys, kills, yeah, the shahawat that we have in us, those carnal desires that we have in us. You see, if I'm going to be here forever, then I have an inclination towards here. And the desires I may have are desires that I will try my best to satisfy in any way possible, if it's halal or haram. Yeah? The only way these pleasures will slowly lose meaning and color to me is how? Is if I remember that they're going to end. The only thing that reminds me that they're going to end is death. So the Imam, he says, يُمِيتُ الشَّهَوَاتِ فِي النَّفْسِ. And that's why we have a famous hadith by the Holy Prophet that he refers to as death as hadimul ladhat. Hadim comes from, means destroyer. Destroyer of pleasures, it's called, death. وَيَقْطَعُ مَنَابِتَ الْغَفْلَةِ. Says, remembrance of death destroys the roots of heedlessness and forgetfulness. If you were to think about anything else, talk about anything else, go anywhere else, it wouldn't have the power of killing the shahawat in you like death does. Now, of course, when it says shahawat here, those haram pleasures that we seek. If it's halal, Allah has allowed it, it's not a bad thing. يرق الطابع يكسر or يرق الطابع ويكسر أعلام الهوى. It softens one's nature. يرق probably comes from raqiq and riqqa, which means when something's soft, it softens one's nature. Like you cool down a little bit. All this pushing and obsession towards dunya, yeah, you kind of loosen up when it comes to that. It's a relaxer, or whatever those pills are that you take that relaxes your body. يطفئ نار الحرص. It extinguishes the fire of obsession. ويحقر الدنيا. And it belittles the dunya. Younger people, younger guys, sisters, right? We don't expect this. Islam doesn't expect this from you right away. You don't need to go home now and say, oh, okay, let me destroy all pleasures in life in my eyes. No, right? And even if I wasn't going to say this, I don't think you would have done it anyway. So just remember this. Let these things echo in your mind. And please, as the years pass, as you grow, mature with the passing of these years. Don't let this secular environment we're in. And by the way, when I say secular environment, I don't mean America. Secularism has taken over everything. Muslim lands are secularized to an extent now. It doesn't matter where you are anymore. It's all a little village. Okay? All these values and stuff that the West used to have, now it's the values of everywhere, unfortunately. If I can get another salawat, please, and move forward again, it's gonna be full tonight probably. Brother's side too, please. I'm sorry. Inshallah, this is one of the tents of Imam Hussein, and so we have room for as many people as we can, inshallah. I'm sorry. All right. Yes. ذكر الموت يميت الشهوات يقطع. You know what it's like? This example came to my mind. It's like when you love somebody, right? And you're after them, and maybe she likes me, maybe he likes me, maybe he doesn't. Oh, look what he said in this WhatsApp message in the group. Maybe he cares, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's... All of a sudden you find out that that person you were so into is into somebody else. What happens? Once you find out that they themselves, their heart is somewhere else, that's enough to kind of destroy that love you might have had. Unless you're super obsessed. But even then, you're disappointed and you're upset. Guys, the dunya is not in love with us. Just letting us know. The dunya is not in love with us. It doesn't care about us. All we do is we accumulate, and we leave it for those to come after us, and we go. I'm like, dunya, I did so much for you. Now the time has come for me to benefit. It's time to go. You can't take any benefit in what you had. Right? And so when it comes to accumulation of wealth, unless I am trying to accumulate a lot so that I can support others, support the community, other than that, I don't see a reason to kill myself for that. Anything we go into, going too far with it. I'll use this example. The bodybuilders, bodybuilding, being in shape, okay, fine. But bodybuilding as if that is the goal in life, where I just put as much flesh as I can on me. Why? So it becomes the food of the insects and animals on the ground later? I don't want to feed, that's not my job to feed those things. Anything, if we take it too much, it has to make sense, brothers and sisters. It has to make sense in the equation in which akhirah also lies. If you take akhirah out of the equation, a lot of things are going to make sense. All right? A lot of things are going to make sense. All the isms out there are going to make sense. But if we bring akhirah into the picture, a lot of things go out of the window. I'm sorry. They just don't make sense anymore. That I'm going to kill myself. Unless that's my way of life, that's my livelihood, it's a different story. But some people, you find that they have passion in certain things only to serve others in the end. So that's what I'm trying to say. Either you're going to be feeding the insects, you're going to be leaving wealth for 5 generations down. You're not responsible for 5 generations down of your descendants. We're not. We actually have literature for these things. And so, if you're younger brothers and sisters, keep this in mind. It's like the dunya just doesn't care about us, and then we care so much about it. And so we'll do everything for it. Baba, understand, this guy, the dunya, his heart is somewhere else. His heart's not with us. The 6th Imam, he says, إِذَا أَنْتَ حَمَلْتَ جَنَازَةً فَكُنْ كَأَنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْمَحْمُولِ. Remembrance of death and the importance of it and the reasons for it. He says, whenever you are carrying a janazah, what you should do is, you should imagine that is you being carried. What are you going to do? And then come back to reality and say, okay, alhamdulillah, that's not me. So what am I going to do for that day? Put yourself in that person's shoes that's being carried. Al-mawt jala'uha. قال قراءة القرآن وذكر وما الله. Sorry, this one. Recite a salawat, please. And the Prophet said that hearts, they rust, just like how iron rusts. And what is that? How do you polish it? He said, through qira'atul Quran wa dhikrul maut. You polish the hearts by remembering death and reciting Quran. And Quran is always reminding us that death is coming, by the way. And that's why people like Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, they say that death gives meaning to life. And then I noticed later on Mike Tyson also said it. But Ayatollah Jawadi, he says this, and of course he understands it differently than him. He says that death gives meaning to this life that we're on, or else this life that we have here didn't have meaning. Why? Because this life doesn't make sense. It's all hardship. Yet we're so attached to it as if this is the best we can get. So death, what it does is that it removes that forgetfulness and heedlessness. It also promotes zuhd and repulsion from the dunya as well. The Holy Prophet ﷺ, أَكْثِرُوا مِن ذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ فَإِنَّهُ يَزْهَدُ فِي الدُّنْيَا. You want to gain zuhd? Zuhd means that you're not interested in something. You want to not be interested in dunya? Remember death. It's obvious. I don't need to explain. It says that someone asked Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, tell me something that I can benefit from. He said, Ya Aba Ubayda, أكثر ذكر الموت. Remember death a lot. فَإِنَّهُ لَمْ يُكْثِرِ الْإِنسَانِ ذِكْرِ الْمَوْتِ إِلَّا زَهِدَ فِي الدُّنْيا. Because there is not a person out there that remembers death more often, except that they lose their interest a little bit in this dunya. That interest that we have that will push us to the point that we will do anything for it, even if it's something that destroys our akhirah and compromises it. That's what it takes care of. It doesn't make it that important for you. It says some people were speaking highly of someone in the presence of the Prophet, and so he asked. So those of us out there who want criteria for who to befriend, says that they were speaking to the Holy Prophet and they were telling him about a friend that they have. Like, we have this friend, he's so great, this friend of ours. This friend of ours, spiritual this, spiritual that. Well, the Prophet asked one simple question. He said, كيف كان ذكر صاحبكم للموت? How is the remembrance of death with this friend of yours? Like, does he talk about death ever? Does he bring it up? They said, no, not really. ما كنا نكاد نسمع يذكر الموت. We don't remember really him talking about it too much or bringing it up. What did the Prophet say? He said, then this friend of yours isn't as high as you think he is. Okay? So, Mount and death is super awesome, super important, because the destination's importance rubs off on it. If a person doesn't understand that, yeah, then it shows that they're not that high. Okay? Now, because of that death and barzakh course that I've taught 85 times, people, they refer to me as the death sheikh. It's fine. According to the Prophet, that's a good thing. This one's beautiful too. I mean, these are just small little bits of gold here and there that we could have thought of ourselves, but when the Imams say it, it has a different effect on us. مَنْ أَكْثَرَ ذِكْرَ الْمَوْتِ رَضِيَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا بِالْيَسِيرِ. The one who remembers death often will be satisfied and content with a little bit. Yeah. In other words, a person who's not content with a little bit usually is a person that doesn't have too much of a relationship with death. Now, there's a person like Salman al-Farsi. His relationship with death is like this. And so, when he's leaving this dunya, he has nothing. They say he had like 2 items. That's it. Now, that's Salman. I don't want anyone now to go and do something crazy, okay? There have been cases where spiritual speakers have said certain things and people's lives have been ruined because then the wife or the husband are like, we have to do this now because that speaker said so. And then all of a sudden, this guy or this wife is pushing for something that messes everything up to the point that the kids probably leave Islam later. So it's important we understand what we're supposed to say and understand each thing has its own place. This is not for you and I. This is for Salman al-Farsi. It says that when he left this dunya, he just had like a little rug and like a pot or something like that. I don't know what it is. Like 2 items, that's it. And when he's leaving this dunya, he's worried. He's like, how is my hisab going to be? Then what about, us? In this day and age that we live in, we need a lot more things going on in our lives, okay? We can't live like that anymore. And if we do, it might even be haram to live like that because we're hurting ourselves and hurting others. But let's get that message here in these stories. Yeah? What's the default? What's the rule? The rule is radiya bil yasir. They will be radi with yasir. They will be okay with a little bit. A little bit is a relative term and notion. If I look around right now and I see some and I look at some people, I'll be like, whoa, what's going on there? So that's going to be abundant. And the opposite of that is going to be, okay, this person has a normal house, normal life, above average is fine, you know. It's good, things looking good. I take care of my landscaping, I take care of my my house and all of that, but it's nothing like crazy either. Okay, well, that is going to be normal then. It's relative. That normal of today might have been crazy 100 years ago. Okay, so I want us to understand, we have a dynamic faith. The general rules have been given to us, but the application of those rules, they change over time and circumstances, etc. The Holy Prophet, هان من زهد في الدنيا هانت عليه المصيبات. Okay, a person who reaches a point now that they're not very interested in the dunya anymore because of dhikr al-maut. Because of that, and as a result of that, this person, the musibas and tragedies that they might have become easier on them. Because they know this dunya is a little puny time period of my life that is going to pass soon. And so why lose everything over this musibah? Okay, a musibah is hard. I'll try my best to be patient. Try my best to be satisfied with Allah's decision. But in the end, I'm not going to lose my faith over it, inshallah. And so, if a person doesn't remember death enough, what happens is they'll be happy with what they have here. And when they're happy with what they have here, they will do whatever it is to secure what they have here. And that's where the story of a person by the name of Bal'am comes into the picture. Some of you have heard of Bal'am. The Quran speaks of him, they say, but doesn't bring his name. In Surah Anbiya, or Surah A'raf, verse 175 to 176. It says, relate to them, O Prophet, tell the people the story of who? An account of him to whom we gave our signs. That is awesome. That Allah chooses you and He gives you special stuff that no one else has, okay? But He cast them off. Like He took them, but He didn't do what He was supposed to do. A person who has these signs now shouldn't be interested too much in dunya to the point where they're attached to it. This person though, he cast off the signs. And he became one of the perverse. Had we wished, we would have surely raised him by their means. These signs that we gave him, this knowledge that we gave him, whatever it was that we gave him, we could have lifted him up with this. But we don't force people. You have to make the decision. And so they say this Bal'am, it reaches a point where the Quran says, it says, but he clung to the earth or to the dunya and followed his base desires. Now I'll talk about what his base desires were. So his parable, his example is that of a dog. The Quran sometimes uses these words, dog, donkey, to describe people. And then people say, oh, it's derogatory, it's bad. No, the Quran is trying to draw an example here for us. Not, oh, you're a dog, get lost. No. It's like a dog. What is it about the dog that stands out? The dog is always panting. Have you noticed? Even after it's just drunk water, it's still panting. It just can't get enough, as if. It says this Bal'am, so his parable is that of a dog. If you make for it, it brings out its tongue. If you leave it alone, it brings out its tongue. Its tongue is always out. This person clung to the dunya so much, to the point that what happens? That it just can't get enough. Such is the parable of the people who deny our signs. So recount these narratives. Tell these stories, O Prophet of God. Tell the people these stories. Be careful. Bal'am, he followed his base desires and clung to the dunya. What were his base desires? Things like, he had reached a point where they say if he did dua for something, that actual thing would take place. He was mustajabu da'wah, they say. Okay, what more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? But then Fir'aun got under his skin. This is during the time of Prophet Musa. Fir'aun got under his skin. He liked the spotlight apparently. He liked the attention apparently. And so they asked him, hey, now that God gives you whatever you want, pray that God destroys the people of Moses and destroys Musa himself. Something to that effect. And so this idiot actually did that. He did this dua. Now, of course, Allah's not going to give that dua, but this is the person we're talking about. God gave him so much, he clung to the earth. Why do I cling to the earth? Because there's nothing else for me to cling on to if I don't remember that there's an eternity, an infinity to come. Karbala is, I would say, the biggest reminder that death is coming. But at the same time, as it's a reminder of death, when those tears are flowing, it's detaching us. At least temporarily, we are being detached from this dunya. Have you noticed when you go for ziyarah, the sign up there, it says that if you want to see that you're ready for ziyarah, what is the sign of it? That tears are flowing, right? And so enter if you see tears are flowing. It doesn't mean if tears aren't flowing, don't enter. But if you want a sign that I'm ready and a connection has been made, if the tears are flowing. Imam Hussein, as tears flow for us, lots of things are happening. Just letting you know. When tears are flowing, one of those things I'm going to say that's happening, in addition to all the other things that are happening, is that a detachment from dunya takes place. We're just not paying attention at that moment. In other words, if you pay attention at that moment and be like, hey, do I actually like the dunya? You're like, no, I don't like a dunya where Ali al-Asghar is killed in. It just shows that this whole thing is a problem. But yeah, we're going to live in this dunya. We'll get along as much as we can with it. We'll do our time in this dunya. The hadith says, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. The dunya is the prison of the mu'min. They want to get out of it because they know the other side is better. I'm going to do my time. I think that's a good perspective. Brothers and sisters, we're doing our time here in this dunya. It's not all bad, but it's not perfect either. And time will come to move on. Tears for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein help us in this regard and push us in that direction. So, just a couple more things before I end. I just want to say too much remembrance of death can sometimes be a problem, though. This is just a disclaimer that I have. And I've seen big scholars bring this up as well. It should not be something that cripples us. Because if we think about it too much before we have become a proper arif, okay, we will mess up in certain aspects of life, especially if we have a family. No. We have responsibilities as the father of the family, the mother of the family. We have responsibilities. And then that's why sometimes it might cripple things. If too much, it's happening too much. So when it says remember death a lot, it has to be enough that it doesn't cripple things for us. I think this goes without saying, actually. Okay, that's number one. And finally, number two, to wrap up everything that we said before we take our hearts to Karbala, is that if you were to ask me, sum it all up in one line, Imam Hussein said it beautifully. It says that Imam al-Baqir, salawatullah alayhi, he said, yes, please, if you can also move forward. This is the last time, inshallah. Do we need this on the brother side? I think, yeah, brothers, if you can also move up a little bit more. People are still trickling in, inshallah. So it says that Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam said that كتب الحسين ibn Ali ila Muhammad. So Hussein wrote a letter to his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya. What did he write in this letter? He said, min Karbala, it says, from Karbala, he wrote this letter to him. Like, this letter is for us, brothers and sisters. I don't know, once again, it's one of those things that you understand the words, but it's a mystery in the end. Like, how are you seeing things, O Hussein? He says, min al-Hussein ila Muhammad, وَمَنْ قِبَلَهُ مِنْ بَنِي هَاشِمٍ. I'm sending this to my brother and those who are with him of the Bani Hashim. أما بعد, just one line. فَكَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ وَالسَّلَامُ. It says, it's as if the dunya never was. Just keep this line, brothers and sisters, with us. Let's keep this line with us. It's one of my favorite lines of the whole of Karbala and the epic of Ashura. كأن, like after Ashura, I'm going to be repeating this line to myself. But because I'm not a very good person, I'll forget it eventually. But there's another Ashura to come, inshallah, next year. maybe if I remind myself enough, then it'll have its effect. كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ. It's as if the dunya never was. But Hussein, you are in this dunya right now. The heart is somewhere else. And the heart understands that this is going to end. كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. And it's as if the akhirah is what was always. What was always. Like the akhirah compared to dunya, like even the barzakh compared to dunya, they say is, we have hadith. The barzakh, forget akhirah. The barzakh compared to dunya is like a desert compared to a speck of sand of the desert. That's how tiny we are. And out of this whole 150 years that we have, the only good years are like maybe 20 of them, 30 of them. When we're young, we're broke. When we're older, we break. In the middle somewhere, there's a sweet spot, right? 30s maybe, till 50s maybe. Out of this life that it itself is insignificant, we take one part of it and we say, this is what it's all about. كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ. The whole of the dunya doesn't exist even as if. And the only thing that exists is the akhirah. And wassalam, he says, the Imam. Wassalam. This is my last correspondence with you. Khuda hafiz dunya. Khuda hafiz people. But my Shia, remember what I told you until the day of judgment. Recite a salawat, please. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. There's a line of poetry that says, because this is the last night, that it's in Farsi, of course. Imshabira shahidin dar haramash mehman ast. That on this night, shahidin, that the king of the religion, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, is her guest in her tent, Lady Zainab's guest. Makone sob tulu. Oh morning, don't come, please. Morning of Ashura, don't arrive. Let this brother and sister forever be together. Let him be her guest in her tent. But no, Asr farda badanash zir some asban ast. But no, tomorrow afternoon, his body is going to be under the hooves of the horses. Makone sob tulu. Oh morning, don't come. This is that last night, brothers and sisters. And inshallah, you all in your azadari tonight, everywhere that you go, wherever you go, keep this night alive. Maybe morning won't come. But there was a time that I like to say that the army of Imam Hussein was destroyed after Abbas fell. But there was still maybe an ounce of hope left. But I'll tell you, when all hope was lost, and that's when Ali al-Asghar was lost. That last ounce of hope that maybe these people will not dig their own graves in Jahannam. And so they say, when Imam Hussein noticed there's no one else left, one account at least, he goes to the tents, he says, let me try one more time. Let me see if I can get some water for this child, but they won't give me the water. I have to somehow get to their hearts. And so it says he takes this baby with him in front of the opposition. They say, we saw Hussein coming. They know Abbas is gone. There's nobody left. He's here to fight. No, all of a sudden he's coming in a different way this time. He's wearing the cloak of Rasulullah. His sword is sheathed. What's he carrying? What's he hiding from us? They say in those moments now he pulls aside his cloak that was shielding Ali and al-Asghar from the sun, and he raises Ali and al-Asghar so high that his arms are showing now. He says, Ya qawm, in lam tarhamuni, farhamu hadha al-tifl al-radi'. If you don't have mercy on me, there's no sin upon this little one. Have some mercy on this Ali and al-Asghar of mine. As he's speaking to the people, they say that their hearts are being touched. Some people are being moved. maybe this is going to solve the problem. You would think this last soldier of Abu Abdullah, maybe he's doing his work. Brothers and sisters, this is no dream. This is no story. It happened. Those of us who have children, maybe 1-year-old, 6 months old, it might not be a bad idea when she is or he is waiting for mommy to feed her or him, just to remember Ali and al-Asghar. Don't hold back. Feed the baby right away, but just remember that, wow, this is what it looks like when a baby is struggling, is hungry or thirsty. He says, إِلَّمْ تَرْحَمُونِي فَارْحَمُوا هَذَا الطِّفْلِ الرَّضِيعِ. As he's touching the hearts of the enemy, he says one line, أَمَا تَرَوْنَهُ كَيْفَ يَتَلَذَّى عَطَشًا. Ali is going to die anyway, it seems. Like a fish out of water, don't you see? His dry lips, his little mouth. So cute. Opening and closing though, as if he's he's a fish that is out of the water. What have you done? How monstrous can you be? He's bringing some people to their senses, but then they say that Harmala was there. And Umar ibn Sa'ad turns to Harmala. He says, Harmala, what are you waiting for? Harmala says, which one do you want me to shoot, the father or the son? He says, don't you see the whiteness of the neck of Ali? This flower of Hussein. Okay, at least shoot a small arrow. They say he takes an arrow, the same one that took down Hussein on the plains of Karbala. The one that finished the job of Hussein after that. It says he took the same arrow, the 3-pronged arrow that does the work of a dagger. It doesn't pierce, they say, it slices. He lets this arrow go. They say Hussein, as he's speaking to the enemy, he feels a sensation on his arm. فَذَبَحُوهُ مِنَ الْأُذُنِ إِلَى الْأُذُنِ, from ear to ear. This is not the arm of Abbas. This is not the neck of Hussein or his chest. This is the frail neck of Ali and al-Asghar. They say the head is now hanging by its skin. Oh Hussein, what are you going to do? What can I do? He fills his hand with the blood of Ali and tosses it. They say not a drop returned. But he has to now make his way back to the tents. Rubab is waiting. Sukaina, I couldn't bring back Abbas. What would happen to the spirit of my family? I can't bring Ali and al-Asghar either. And so they say he doesn't take the baby back. This baby that's fluttering like a pigeon in its own blood. He digs a small grave with his sword outside the tents, they say, and they bury Ali and al-Asghar there. And later on, they say, when the Bani Asad come and bury Imam Hussein, they place this little Ali on the chest of Abu Abdullah. When we go for ziyarah, remember that there's a little one on the chest of Abu Abdullah. He tried his best on Ashura. He said, I can also help in my way. Let me try to help you, oh Father. Who says your army is done? Who says with Abbas your army was done? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Al-Ali al-Azim. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ ماتم يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين
Ya Hussein, 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 Salman. Ya Hussein.
اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، 6 ماہ کے بچے کی 6 ماہ کے بچے کی تھی پیاس بجھانی، اصغر شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، 6 ماہ کے بچے کی 6 ماہ کے بچے کی تھی پیاس بجھانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، خیمے میں نہ کیوں لائے اصغر کو میرے مولا، خیمے میں نہ کیوں لائے اصغر کو میرے مولا، اکبر سے نہ مشکل تھی اکبر سے نہ مشکل تھی وہ لاش اٹھانی، اصغر شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، دل اور کمر توڑی جس نے حسین کی، دل اور کمر توڑی جس نے حسین کی، بچپن تھا وہ اصغر کا بچپن تھا وہ اصغر کا، اکبر کی جوانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، 2 آنسو گرے شاہ کے اس پھول سے چہرے پر، 2 آنسو گرے شاہ کے اس پھول سے چہرے پر، لب کھل گئے سمجھا ہے لب کھل گئے سمجھا ہے معصوم نے پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، بھولوں گی تجھے کیسے میں ماں ہوں تیری اصغر، بھولوں گی تجھے کیسے میں ماں ہوں تیری اصغر، تیری پیاس پہ قرباں ہو تیری پیاس پہ قرباں ہو دریا کی روانی، اصغر سے شرمسار
ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی،
خیمے میں نہ کیوں لائے اصغر کو میرے مولا، خیمے میں نہ کیوں لائے اصغر کو میرے مولا، اکبر سے نہ مشکل تھی، اکبر سے نہ مشکل تھی وہ لاش اٹھانی، اصغر سے شرمسار ہے کائنات کا پانی،
یا حسین 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 یا حسین، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، 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 اکبر کے کھلے گیسو، اکبر کے کھلے گیسو، دیکھے نہ گئے شاہ سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا 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 سے، او بیٹے جوا کا لاشا مقتل میں دیکھا تنہا، غم کھا گئی کمر تو جھکتے ہوئے شاہ نے کہا، ایک بار اٹھو اکبر، ایک بار اٹھو اکبر، او کیوں روٹھے ہو بابا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، آواز اکبر کے کھلے گیسو، اکبر کے کھلے گیسو، دیکھے نہ گئے شاہ سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا سے، میں نے دیکھا شاہ کو آتے ہر شے لرز رہی تھی، اور کربلا کی پاک دھرتی صلوات پڑھ رہی تھی، پیغام کوئی اکبر، پیغام کوئی اکبر، اور کیوں روٹھے ہو بابا سے، آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینہ سنا 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 دریا کے شور میں تھا اکبر جوا کا ماتم شبیر کے پسر کے لختے جگر کا ماتم ماتم کی صدا لوگو ماتم کی صدا لوگو آتی تھی ہر جا سے آواز آ رہی ہے ایک سینے سنا سے آواز آ رہی ہے سنا سے اکبر کے کھلے گے سو اکبر کے کھلے گے سو دیکھے نہ گئے شاہ سے آواز آ رہی ہے کسی نئے سنا 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 سے جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا اب ساری خدائی میں اب ساری خدائی میں اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا اب جھولا جھلانے کو ترس جائیں گی باہیں خیمے میں کبھی دست میں ڈھونڈیں گی نگاہیں تھک جائیں گی یہ آنکھیں اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا ہاں یہ سوچ کے روتا ہے میرا دل بھی تڑپ کر اس وقت تیرے قلب پہ کیا گزرے گی مجھتے جب راتوں کو پہلو میں اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا کیا وقت مصیبت ہے ذرا دیکھ اے دکھیا کل جھولے میں بے شیر تھا اور پانی نہیں تھا مل جائے گا جب پانی اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا ہنسائے میں نہ جاؤں گی تو گھر لوٹ کے آ جا ہر وقت تیرے ہونٹوں پہ ہوگا یہی نوحہ بن تیرے سکوما کو اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا
تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا
بن پانی کے دنیا سے سدھارا میرا اصغر جب آئے گا پانی تو میری پیاری سی دختر ڈھونڈے گی اسے بن میں اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا
تو نظر آئے گا
اصغر نہ ملے گا کیا وقت مصیبت ہے ذرا دیکھ دکھیا کل جھولے میں بے شیر تھا اور پانی نہیں تھا مل جائے گا جب پانی
جائے گا جب پانی
اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو
نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا
ہاتھوں میں اٹھاؤں گی جب پانی کا کوزہ پانی میں نظر آئے گا بے شیر کا چہرہ بس عکس نظر آئے گا
نظر آئے گا
اصغر نہ ملے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا اصغر نہ ملے گا جھولا تو نظر آئے گا
اصغر نہ ملے گا یا حسین 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 یا حسین
رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی اے لال میرے آجا اے لال میرے آجا گودی میں سلاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی رو رو کے کہا مانے جھولا میں جھولاؤں گی اے شیر میرے مجھ کو تو جان سے پیارا ہے اس غم زادہ مادر کا تو ہی تو سہارا ہے بن تیرے میرے بیٹا بن تیرے میرے بیٹا میں جی نہیں پا جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی اس تپتے ہوئے بن میں تو سو نہیں پائے گا مارو گی تو جب تک واپس نہیں آئے گا آجا تجھے ممتا کے آجا تجھے ممتا کے سائے میں سلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی تکلیف نہیں دینا تم اپنے برادر کو گر خود نہیں آ سکتے آواز دو مادر کو مقتل میں تمہیں لینے مقتل میں تمہیں لینے میں خود چلی آؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی اس تپتے ہوئے بن میں تو سو نہیں پائے گا مارو گی تو جب تک واپس نہیں آئے گا آجا تجھے ممتا کے آجا تجھے ممتا کے سائے میں سلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے جھولا میں جھلاؤں گی رو رو کے کامانے اللہم صلی اللہ
محمد وآل محمد صلوات
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله